Hey, what's going on, everyone? Thanks for clicking on my video. Today we are taking a look at the complete interview that I did with the Werner driver, and it'll kind of show you what it's like to sit in a truck stop and have some dinner and jaw jack with your friends in the truck stop or other drivers that you haven't met before, and just get to know each other based off of the mutual shared camaraderie of being a trucker. I did the best I could not to cut out too much. I did cut out some dead space in between, but overall this is the complete and total interview, and I hope you enjoy it. But before we get started, if you wouldn't mind subscribing to my channel, it means the world to me. And if you haven't had the chance to check out my Werner video doing a deep dive on the company, I called a recruiter, I talked to this driver, I did a deep dive on the internet to find out more about Werner Enterprises. All of that information is in that video, and at the end I give you a rating on whether or not I would go and drive for Werner. If you haven't had the chance to check that out, click up here, I'll leave a link up there. Alright, let's go. Gotcha, so you've been trucking for 7 years, huh?
Yep.
Gotcha. I am not too much further ahead of you. I got about 8 years under my belt.
Okay.
Okay,
So yeah, what were you kind of looking for?
So my goal with this is basically to do a deep dive on different companies and stuff and find out what they're really about, you know, and pretend like I'm a driver that's looking for this job. And so these newer drivers that are taking a look at my channel can kind of see what it would look like to call the recruiters and to find out more information about them, to go on to the Google pages and look at reviews and find out everything you need to know about the company before making a decision. And
Okay.
a first-hand experience from a driver is definitely the best way to go, but obviously pretty difficult to get.
Yeah, that's honestly that's something I would suggest is go talk to actual drivers in the trucks. You know, any company.
Right. Yeah, so like if you're going through CDL school or whatever, you're not getting that firsthand experience of real stories. So that's why I'm trying to reach out to different drivers to tell what their experience was going through a training company, whether it be a Warner or whatever. So what company did you end up doing your training through?
So I hope I didn't misunderstand. My first job was with Werner, but to get my CDL, I went with an independent school.
Okay, but your first job was with Warner, and they trained you up from just getting your CDL.
Yeah.
Gotcha. That was the first question I was going to ask you, actually, was did you get your CDL through the company or through a private institution? Me too.
I actually went and got student loans for it. It cost something like 8 or 10 grand. I took a 6-month course. It was a little excessive, but that's the only one student loans would cover. And when I actually went to Werner, they actually paid back the student loans. They paid a certain amount per week or month to, pay back the balance for me. So that's kind of the best of both worlds, in my opinion. You know, do it privately and then get a company to pay them back for you.
Definitely. So Warner did a tuition reimbursement program, basically.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Understood. Do you mind sharing what CDL school you went to?
I actually went to NETS, New England Tractor Trailer Training School, up in Somers, Connecticut. So
Very cool.
I'd recommend them. They've got a bunch of campuses around New England.
And you said it was a 6-week or 6-month course?
6 month.
Wow. Okay.
We did 3 months in the classroom. Honestly, a good portion of it was just them scaring us with crash videos. They just had to fill time, you know?
You would love my channel then if you're into crash videos, or you're probably turned off from them now. I do a lot of reactions to the crash videos and kind of talk through drivers what to do in this situation if it occurs.
Oh, that's a good idea.
So,
yeah, crashes now, the only nightmares I really have now are like brake failures and things like that. So maybe a little traumatic, but
yeah, you definitely get a set number of things that you're like terrified of. For me, it's blowing a steer tire. I'm so terrified of blowing a steer tire, it's not even funny.
That would be rough.
Now, I've been through some stuff, and I've got plenty of experiences to share as far as things that can go wrong will go wrong, but the one that hasn't happened yet is, I haven't blown a steer yet. So I'm thankful for it, but the longer I do it, it's probably going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the same boat as you right now, but I mean, they're made pretty tough nowadays. So as long as you're keeping up on it, checking the pressure, should be okay.
Yeah, definitely do your pre-trips and make sure everything's good to go. We're all drivers, though. We know we kind of overlook a couple of things here and there. Just make sure you get the tires, lights, fluids, all that, 100% every time.
Yeah, that's kind of my mentality. I do a real good one once or twice a week, and then just do a walk around the rest of the week.
Right. So let me ask you, how long were you with Warner? And you said you went straight from school. First, let me back up just a second. Did they send recruiters to your school from Warner?
I don't think they actually had a recruiter, but they did. One of the trucks we had was an old Werner truck.
Okay.
And they converted the bed into 3 more seats, so they would bring us all out on the road in that and have us take turns driving and shifting in the Werner truck. So
very similar situation for me.
Billboard.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it was there. For me, the school that I went to was TDI, South Bend, Indiana. And I believe they've actually been taken over by Warner's training program. I'm not 100% positive on that, but same setup where it was the seats in the back and whatnot. Very cool. And you said you were with Warner for how long after that?
I was with them for about 9 months.
Okay.
They didn't end up paying back all of my tuition, but they would have had I stayed with them longer.
Gotcha.
And I was doing the Dollar Tree account with them, so a lot of tight spaces, a lot of city driving, a lot of unloading. But I liked it. It was a good. It was a tough first year, but it really set me up to succeed.
So they had you on the Family Dollar route?
Dollar Tree.
Dollar Tree, gotcha.
I actually did do a little bit of Family Dollar later, but mostly it was Dollar Tree.
Gotcha. That's brutal. That's a lot of hard work. Yeah. I did a contract for a week and told the boss, no, thank you. I'm not doing that no more. It's not worth the money.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Nowadays, I would say the same thing.
Gotcha. Very cool. And you said you were with them for how long again?
About 9 months.
9 months. Okay. What was the training process like with them? I know you said you went through CDL school. I did as well. But I feel like once you got to your first company, they did their level of training where you're going out with a trainer, or what was that process like for you?
Yeah. So I actually trained over the road with Werner. First, they brought us to their terminal in Allentown, Pennsylvania. They've got a bunch of them, but that's the one I went to. And okay. We had, I want to say it was a week of classes of going over a bunch of stuff, getting the formalities out of the way. Then they brought us out into the yard one of the days and taught us a few things with the trucks, went over a pre-trip, did a few maneuvers. And then they had us in a hotel this whole time. And after the week of training, I spent about another week in the hotel waiting for a trainer to be available.
Really?
Yeah, and I got out of there pretty quick, but they've probably turned that around by now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was training for a total of about 3 months with other drivers.
Multiple other drivers?
Yes.
Okay.
Usually it's only one. But my first driver, after 3 or 4 weeks, he had some kind of issue with Werner. He was an owner-op, and something happened with his training endorsement with Werner, so they took him off of the training account and put me with another guy. That guy was also an owner-operator, and he was trying to get me to fudge my logs and go off duty when I'm not, and drive on his time and vice versa. So I didn't like that, and I talked to Werner and got off of that truck. And then my third guy, he was a company driver.
Gotcha.
And I was with him for a month and a half, 2 months. He was a cool dude. He taught me a lot. We went all over the country, 45 states.
And you said a 3-month period? You went to all 45?
Yeah, I was everywhere.
Wow. They kept you guys moving. Then did you guys operate more as a team, or did the trainer sit up there with you and then you guys bunk up whenever the day's done?
It was kind of a 50-50. There was some team driving, but they didn't run us as hard as a team. So we had we had a few hours a night at least where we were both off duty, just sleeping or hanging out.
Now let me ask you, as a driver myself, did you get stiffed with the top bunk?
with the first two guys I did, the third guy, the top bunk was mine, but he told me if he was driving, I could lay my bedding on his bunk and sleep down there while the truck's moving.
How was that sleeping while you were on the top bunk?
Awful. I can't do it even in the bottom bunk, man. Teaming is not for me.
Gotcha.
So that might have been part of the reason we didn't team much also, because I was not getting good sleep, and I'm sure they knew that.
Yeah, I mean, and for those that might be listening to this, if you're on the top bunk, the sway of the truck has such a higher impact at the top just because there's not as much center of gravity up there. So you're swaying back and forth, and sleeping through that is awful. Sleeping in general while somebody else is driving is rough, but especially on that top bunk.
Yeah, and honestly, I think it's a lot of people have slept in cars on the road, but trucks are just different. You feel the bumps a lot more, and I've been thrown in the air from big bumps while sleeping in the bunk. It's
Definitely.
rough, man.
And a hard brake check too sends you onto the floorboard. That's always fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you said you were with him for 3 months. Do you happen to remember like what your cents per mile was while you were in training?
I don't think I was actually paid cents per mile in training. I think I just had a weekly stipend, basically.
Okay.
It wasn't great. I want to say it was somewhere in the $600 or $700 range, but that was 8 years ago, so I'm sure it's more now.
Right.
Probably in the low thousands.
Yeah, I'll definitely be calling a recruiter from Werner and having a conversation with them as if I was a prospective driver and seeing what they got to say about it. But that's to come at a later time. And then while you were with them, especially specifically on training, how difficult was it to get home time?
During training, I think I only went home once. I didn't really ask for much home time during training. I was just really excited to be in a truck and see the country,
Right.
After the training, I realized over the road wasn't for me, so I've always had home time since then.
Gotcha.
I've heard it can be rough, but it really depends on your dispatcher.
Yeah, I mean, so much lies on their shoulders as far as, they control your life essentially when you're out on the road.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Remember their birthdays, send them some bourbon or whatever they like.
Suck up to them a little bit just to get a little favor. I like it.
Hey, man, I've made lasagnas and other stuff for dispatchers before, you take care of them, they take care of you.
Gotcha. How do you feel about whether or not the company did an adequate job getting you prepared to be on your own and do a good job being a trucker?
I think Werner did a pretty good job of that. That's something, again, that's going to rely a lot on your personal trainer, but I wouldn't be afraid to ask for a new trainer if you don't fit with an old one,
Right.
I did that, and it worked great. I went from a guy who was teaching me horrible habits to somebody I clicked with and had a great time.
Yeah, I wonder if they ever let that guy go, training you to fudge your logs a little bit.
I didn't actually tell them all that. I just kind of was like, yeah, we just don't get along.
Gotcha.
I didn't really want to throw him under the bus because...
Yeah, fair enough, but hopefully everybody else was smart enough to realize that was problematic.
Yeah. If I could do it again, I probably would have
not a big
told them
deal.
a little more.
At the end of the day, people that are fooling around, it always comes to light, so...
Yeah, that's true. Especially with the e-logs now.
Yeah, those don't play around. It's, as being somebody who has experimented with fooling around with that, they're a little bit more difficult to get around.
Oh, yeah. There's ways, but the problem is DOT can go back through forever as far as I understand.
Right.
Like, they can go back 20 years and find a violation and get you for it. It's crazy.
Yeah, so on your whatever monitoring device that you have in the truck, that I believe that it can only go back either 8 or 10 days, but they can audit the company at any time and pull everything.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Speaking of that, what sort of logging device were they on? Qualcomm?
Honestly, I can't remember the name of it with Werner. I know it's not. They may have had to change it because I don't think it was technically an electronic logging device.
Okay.
There's a distinction between two very specific types of e-logs. And I'm not an expert on this, but I know they used the one that didn't qualify when it became a mandate.
Gotcha. Yeah, it was a little bit later on from when I started that it was mandated, but I do believe Warner was one of the big pioneers in the electronic logging device.
They were. It's just because I remember with Werner, the way they did it is you could actually fudge those logs to stay off duty and drive them.
Right.
And the e-log I'm using now, you can't do that. This one is based on how fast the truck's going. Werner was based on mileage.
Really? Okay. Yeah, if I remember right, what we had in my first training company and a couple other companies as well was Qualcomm. Another big one is PeopleLink. And by now they've come up with so many different ones. Verizon has one. You got the Keep Trucking. Well, Motive now, formerly known as Keep Trucking. But yeah, there's so many out there. But the Qualcomm, it was your messaging system where you messaged the dispatch through it. Pretty much everything came through there until you weren't getting a load when you needed it, and you had to call them and gripe.
Yeah, that's what Werner had. That sounds right? So it might have been Qualcomm. And I do remember PeopleNet from another company. So that Qualcomm sounds right. That could be what they were running.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's a big giant box that sits up on your dash, and you go through and fill out all your stuff on that.
Yeah, that's what I had. It was almost like a early 2000s computer looking thing.
Gotcha. Were they doing a good job at keeping you moving?
Yeah, I don't remember us sitting for more than an evening, here or there.
Gotcha.
We were always going somewhere. We didn't stay and visit in a lot of states. We were just passing through most of them, but
right.
Yeah, we were always somewhere.
Well, that's good to hear. The one that I did, which I will definitely be doing a video on eventually. Yeah, we would sit through the weekend, almost every weekend.
Oh man, that's rough.
Yeah. Obviously, I mean, it's been a while. The same as what your situation is. Let me ask you, what was the best part of training? Like, if remembering back, what was the highlight of training? I mean, other than being able to drive a giant truck down the road, which is pretty cool in itself.
Oh man, that was going to be it. Probably the best part for me was meeting the people in the industry and seeing what it was really like. Finally having an actual career that I can be proud of. I don't know, it's kind of personal for me.
Gotcha. I don't want to dig too deep into your past, just for the anonymity's sake, but yeah. And then is there anything that you would train? You had said just like networking with new people is one of your highlights, and just being proud of your career. And then
Yeah.
what's something that you would have changed about the training process?
I think I would have made it less standardized.
Can you explain that?
Yeah, so basically there were a lot of things that had to be done a certain way, I guess. And I didn't learn the things the Werner way. It just didn't click with me. I kind of wish they would take more of a focus on the individual and how they are going to learn the job,
That sounds fair. Yeah, definitely. Where it's a unique approach based on the person, not just formulaic. Here's the rules. Here's the process. Step A, step B, step C. Yeah, I mean, everybody has their own way of doing stuff, and so yeah, okay. That definitely makes sense.
I like to say trucking is as much of an art as it is a science. You need both.
I definitely can connect with that, man. I always feel like I'm in a symphony moving down the freeway, waves of sound just moving through the lanes, going down the road. Yeah, I definitely have that existential kind of thought process of it as well.
Yeah, there's this nice flow when you can see the traffic that's going to happen up ahead, and you can change lanes before it stops you, and it's just nice, flowing when everyone else is getting bunched up.
Now, when you got into it, and even to this day, now that you've been trucking for a good amount of time, was it what you expected it to be?
Parts of it were. I think I had a romanticized view about it from like the movies and TV and all that. It is a job, it is a lifestyle. You're gonna be living around the truck. It's work, and I expected it to be almost like a vacation.
Right.
I don't think there's as much camaraderie on the road as there appears to be either. That's kind of the same aspect there, though.
Yeah, definitely.
People don't respect truck drivers on the road, that's for sure.
100%.
Then you get the people that do, and it
makes your
feels
day
good when somebody understands. Yeah, it does. You're having a tough day, and then somebody backs off to let you over before you have to fight your way in, and it's, you got to appreciate the little things.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, anything from a kid or an adult, even just pumping their arm, getting that air horn going. Oh my gosh, that'll make a terrible day flip right around.
Oh yeah, nothing better than that.
Now that's one part that I will say is still pretty alive. I mean, I felt like I was doing it more as a kid than what it actually is. However, you still see quite a bit of arms pumping in the air.
Yeah.
So that's lived up to the expectations.
Even if it's an adult doing it, I'll try. Unless there's a reason not to. If I'm in a neighborhood at 1 a.m., yeah, I'm not going to blow the air horn. But
some drunk guy named Steve walking around, honk the horn, man.
I was that drunk guy back in the day.
Me too, my friend. Me too. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. So it was definitely romanticized as far as like what you thought it was going to be and what it is. And you said you're still in it. You're still doing it 7 years strong. Would you go back and do it over again had given the opportunity?
I like to think of it like this. I probably wouldn't be a truck driver again, but I definitely do not regret doing it. I'm pretty happy with where things are, I think things could always be better, but they could absolutely be worse. So truck driving's a good career. I would put it nowadays as probably a second or third option, because you can always come back to it if your first choice doesn't work out,
Right.
But yeah, I'm happy with it. I would do it again. I would just make a few other choices to see if some experiments worked out.
Definitely. Yeah, hindsight's always 20/20. But yeah, I think overall I would agree with you. It's definitely a good career to be in, and worst case scenario, as long as you keep up with your CDL, making sure you're redoing it up every time you get a license renewal and staying up with your medical card, you have an option for life. Only thing, a little side note to that, past 3 years, most companies will have you retrain again. So if you haven't had that experience in 3 years and you're taking that big of a time off, maybe go and see about doing a yard jockey position, a temporary job or something, just to have something that shows that you were still doing it.
Yeah, for sure. I've met a couple of guys over the years who just came in 1 day a week as well. That'll keep you current in the eyes of the insurance.
Right. Yeah, and that's another thing too. I mean, so much is dictated based off of insurance and less to do with the company that you work for. I mean, as far as your experience requirements, all that, what kind of background that they will accept and not accept. It's crazy how much is controlled by the insurance.
Oh yeah, it costs a lot to insure one of these things on the road, man.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I can understand that, but yeah, I mean, so you said, just to backtrack a little bit, you had said that you were doing it for about 9 months. Did you have any difficulty moving from that into the next position?
You mean like finding another job?
Correct.
No. When you've got a CDL, you've got a job tomorrow. Like, you can look for a job today and be hired tomorrow. Like, that's not even an exaggeration. Or are you talking because of the experience?
Right.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. So what happened with me is there was a family friend who was starting a trucking company. So I was his first employee. He didn't care. He saw how I drove, and my father's been teaching me how to back trailers since I was like 8 years old. So I kind of knew what I was doing in school.
Right.
So yeah, he took me on, stayed with him for a while. And once you get a year, you can go anywhere.
Right. Yeah, and that's definitely what I recommend to people. 6 months, it's kind of tough to find your next spot. You got lucky in the situation where you got an inn somewhere where you know somebody. That's definitely always helpful, no matter what career you're in. But yeah, I split ways with the training company at about 6 months, and I had a challenging time moving into the next position. Obviously, I had to accept an over-the-road position. Local still wasn't even looking at me yet.
Yeah, that makes sense. A lot of companies want at least a year, and I've jumped around through quite a few companies, but they tend not to like job hoppers a lot.
See, I don't think I've had that same experience. I have had a ton of trucking jobs, whether it be, I mean, I've gone back to one 3 times. I've had 3-4 month stints in one and just wasn't working out. Something else better came along and I jumped on it. Obviously, I did my best not to move unless I had something already lined up. Life kind of happens sometimes and don't always work that way. But yeah, so I bounced around quite a bit and didn't have too much trouble moving into the next spot.
That's fair. I jumped around a lot too, and honestly, I didn't really have much trouble until this past year or so. So it might be the market now as well, because I'm always looking around for a better option.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely another thing that I plan on diving into on the channel is just the whole trucking shortage idea, and we'll get into that later on down the line in this channel. So, yeah, man, I definitely appreciate your feedback on Werner. Any tea you want to spill? Any nasty gossip that you've heard about Werner or anything like that?
It's been so long, none of my tea would be any good anymore.
Gotcha.
But I mean, they're a mega carrier. They're nothing amazing, but they're not terrible.
Right.
You're going to be a number at them just like you will at any of the other mega carriers. Do your time. If you like the job, keep staying, keep doing it. And I suggest get a year of experience and go to a smaller outfit.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm right there with you. That seems to be the way to go, is to back it down. And I feel like the major carriers, they know their position in the world. They know that they are a training company, and that's why mega carriers, to me, I refer to those as training companies. Your Schneider, your Swift, your Warner, big names like that. Really, they're churn and burn on the trainees.
Oh yeah, big time. I don't know how accurate this is, but I've heard trucking has over a 100% turnover rate in the last decade or so.
I'll have to look into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
makes sense though. Most drivers don't keep driving after their first year.
Yeah, it's definitely not made for everybody. I mean, it definitely takes a toll on you, and I mean, it depends on what you like to do. I've met some people that are so gung-ho on the road. They love it. That's their jam. They would retire on the road if that was for them. Other people would prefer to be home and start a family or be with their family.
Yep.
So it all depends on what you're looking for. But what I found being a part of local companies is even though you're home every night, you only got about 10 to 8 hours a night. So you got enough time to go home, eat some food, go to sleep, do it again.
Yeah, that's generally true. I'm actually lucky enough to get home most nights myself, and it's the same thing. On a good day, I'll have 12 hours, but generally, you're just home to sleep.
Right.
Even then, though, I'd rather sleep in my own bed.
Yeah, I mean, it's a handoff. You get to spend that little bit of time with your family and cherish that, and maybe squeeze some things in that you enjoy doing.
Nowadays, a lot of the time, you can just get internet in the trucks, too, and do just about anything you want in there.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I mean, it all depends on your situation. I always say if I was a single dude, I didn't have a kid, or kids, I would be fine being an over-the-road truck driver, spend a month or two out on the road, take a week vacation in Maine or New York or Florida or wherever I wanted to go. No house
Yeah, that's
payment,
one nice thing about it.
no house payment, no car payment. All you got to do is take your phone, insurance, and food on the road. Everything else you could pile back and use it how you please.
That's actually a good way to retire early too. That's a lot of people are getting into that now. And I mean, if you're an over-the-road trucker for 20 years and you just save all your money, that's it. You're retired.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, and even then, what do you want to do when you retire? Travel. I mean, specifically as much as you can within the country and get paid to do it. That's freaking awesome.
Yeah, that'd be great. Buy yourself a truck and, work just enough to pay for it. And
right.
you'll probably be working every other day at most.
Definitely. All right, my friend. Well, it was good talking to you. I definitely appreciate your time. Keep in touch, man. Let me know how you're doing in your career, if you're still loving it later on down the line, and keep an eye out on Trucker 219, see if there's anything you like.
Yeah, for sure. That's the channel, Trucker 219.
Yes, sir.
All right, cool. Yeah, I'll take a look now, and yeah, I'll keep in touch, man. It was nice talking to you.
You as well. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, happy to help out, man. I like steering new drivers in the right way.
Yeah, same here. I mean, that's kind of the goal of the channel when I started it forever ago. Just recently got into being more consistent as far as uploads and, trying to make it grow and turn it into to where I don't have to truck anymore.
Hey, that's the dream.
Yeah, so, I mean, if I could take my knowledge from it and pass it on to somebody else or be a little bit entertaining and yeah, I mean, my goal with it starting out was definitely to help younger drivers out, because I know when I started, I was looking for what should I bring out on my first week on the road. I was trying to figure out that information, and I didn't have anywhere to look. Nowadays, there's a dime a dozen trucking channels, but the good thing about YouTube is there's not really much competition in the way of general business competition. Anybody can watch anything at any time and watch both things at any given time. So there's no exclusivity about it.
That's a good point. I've noticed YouTube is suggesting a lot of small channels to me lately too. So now's the time.
Yeah, it's definitely awesome that it's pumping out some stuff that's gonna get these people growing, and there's definitely a career in it. And we'll see how long I can keep this dream going.
Well, hey, I wish you the best.
All right, my friend. Take care.
Yeah. Have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye. All right, y'all. That's it for this one. If you hadn't had the chance to check out that Werner video, I definitely recommend it. Click up here if you want to see that. And if you want to see my reaction to some crazy crashes, click my playlist over here. All right. Bye.